So apparently a swimming marathon is only 10,000 meters as opposed to a running marathon, which is 42.2k. Sounds easy, right? Or so I thought. 2 days ago, I swam a marathon in my local pool, and I'm going to tell you all about it. I want to talk you through the strategy, the nutrition, the pacing, what equipment I used, what went well and what didn't go well, and why I've done this silly challenge. So I hope you enjoy, but please do let me know in the comment section down below if you have also swam 10,000 meters, particularly over this festive period. It seems to be a thing that swimmers do. So first of all, the idea. Well, I am not a swimmer, I'm a triathlete, so I do the minimum amount of swimming that I need to do in order to not drown at events. However, over the last few weeks, I've been injured, so I've not been able to run or cycle, so I've been spending more time in the pool, and I've been looking for that thing, that challenge or that goal to work towards, and this was in the back of my mind. I know that in the swimming world, it's quite popular for swimmers to do 100 hundreds at Christmas. I don't know why, but I knew that that was out of my reach in terms of I'd be at the pool all day. If I was swimming 100 meters, then having a 10, 20 or 30 second recovery, it would take a huge amount of time. And I also thought that mentally that would be very difficult for me to get through. So I knew that I wanted to swim 10 kilometers, but I wasn't going to do it as 100 hundreds. I was going to do it in long stints, or as long stints as I could. I set the date, I planned to do it with a friend, and I thought, right, I'm giving this my all. I'm going to train hard up until Christmas, just swimming in general, and then do what I can on the first day the pool opens towards the new year, which would give me like a 4-day recovery period before this swim. The 10 weeks leading up to this day, I'd average just under 6k per week, ranging from 2 to 5 swims per week, depending on how life allowed me. But I came into Christmas thinking I feel the best I felt in the water for a long time. Now, I'm by no means a swimmer. My 100 meter PB, which I did set a few weeks ago, is 1 minute and 29 seconds, which gives you a bit of an idea as to my swimming ability. So this is going to be a bit of a challenge. So the day rolled around, my friend who'd committed to do this with me was hungover and didn't turn up, but I was still going to do this. Now, equipment. Firstly, I swam the whole thing with a pool buoy. Please don't tell me it doesn't count. It does still count. I feel like I swim slowly enough that it's a problem if I don't swim with a pool buoy, particularly as my pace is going to deteriorate. I think I swim a bit faster with a pool buoy, so for that reason, I wanted to use it. So I used it for the whole 10 kilometers, and I also use open water pool goggles. They feel more comfy on my face, I find that they don't bother me at all, and they have a good seal, so that was my equipment. Swimming's pretty straightforward, isn't it? The other thing I tested was some open water or pool headphones, because I knew this was going to be quite boring at times. These are only like Amazon cheap models, and they were rubbish. They kept falling off my ears. I threw them on the side after a few lengths. So this is the first day that the pool is open post-Christmas, and it's 8 AM. The pool is open until 4 PM, but I wanted to get it done for lunchtime because I wanted to be able to crack on with my life. Now, the 8 AM slot, all the keen beans were there, people who wanted to get back in the pool straight after Christmas, you know, me included, so the lanes were quite busy, and that meant that my strategy was thrown out the window early on. I wanted to do it in 2 kilometer blocks, and every 2 kilometers, stop and have food, drink, and I knew that would be about 40 to 45 minutes-ish. Now early on, you can see from the splits, I just couldn't do that, so I did 50 meters and then stopped, and then 250 meters and then stopped. It's only just to sort out who's in what lane, and if you're letting somebody past you or going past somebody, those sorts of things. Now, the main problem that I had was there were a couple of people in the lane swimming slower than me, and that's not a problem, we're all there to share the lane, but it meant that if they weren't stopping, I was going to have to make a decision as to whether I would like surge past them, and I did that 3 times, and after the third one I thought, I cannot keep doing this. That sort of 10-second, like almost sprint to get around somebody is just not worth it when I'm trying to swim 10 kilometers. So when I stopped for the first time for 2 minutes and 2, that was when I thought, right, I think I swapped lanes or somebody moved lane or something, and that's when I committed to, I am not going to overtake anybody regardless of what pace they're going. So I've done the first 2K, and you can see my paces there, apart from that first 50, they're all pretty similar, 153, 154 per 100, and the last 800 meters, 158, but I'm feeling cruisy. My heart rate is below 120, which is like top end zone 1 for me, so I know that I'm swimming within myself. I'm focusing on my stroke. I'm trying to think about how many strokes it's taking me to get to the end of the pool, which is about 21 or 22, and I knew that the less strokes that there were, surely the less fatigued I get because I'm doing less strokes in my mind. Now, nutrition wise, some things went well and some things didn't. I felt like I got enough calories and carbs in, but I did not drink enough. So my strategy was Lucozade Sport because that's what I had in the house, and I didn't want to mix a load of carb mix up that had higher carbs in it if I wasn't going to use it, whereas this can just sit in the cupboard if I don't use it. I had 1.5 bottles of this, which was enough to get me through the effort, but for the rest of the day, I was drinking loads. I was very clearly dehydrated. I did not drink enough during the swim. You don't realize it. Our pool is quite cool, but it obviously isn't that cool when you're swimming. I was obviously sweating in the water, but you don't realize it. I should have drank more. About a litre was not enough, but as silly as it sounds, I didn't want to keep getting out to go to the toilet, so I didn't drink a huge amount. That was a mistake, but it's good to learn from mistakes. So stop number one, after around about 2K, I had one of these, an OTE Chew. It's about 20 grams of carbs in this. I didn't know how eating solids was going to affect me in the pool, so I just had one, and then I thought, well, if I do feel hungry, I can stop, but anytime I want. And I did have a big bowl of porridge before I set off to go to the pool, and I had half of an OTE rice cake bar as I was walking into the pool. So I felt really full and really well fueled. This isn't sponsored, by the way, it's just what I've got in. Block number 2 was where I employed a little bit of a different strategy. I didn't want to stop on a round number. If I was stopping at 2K, 4K, 6K, 8K, I knew that it's more tempting to stop and to finish. I didn't have my friend there who was going to be doing the swim with me, so I knew that I didn't want to have any reason to not stop. In hindsight, if I'd known he wasn't coming, I think I'd have put my stuff down at the deep end, because then it's less tempted to stop and chat and stop and get out, because nobody really walks to the deep end to get in, but hindsight is one of those things. So I did 2.2K, knowing that would mean I'd then be on 4.2. So I'm going to swim some more, because I'm not going to stop it on 4.2, and I'd continue that. So after another 2.2K, swimming 2 minutes per 100, the pace has dropped off a little bit, but not a huge amount. I'm fine with that, and I was still feeling good. I stopped and I had a super gel, which is 40 grams of carbs in there, and I was also sipping on some of the fluid as well. Started swimming again, 100 meters, this is the same sort of thing, the lane's quite busy. 100 meters, 20-second stop, 500 meters, 7-second stop, 1450 meters, and then I stopped for my second stop, which was, what's that, 6K-ish, something like that, just over 6K, and I had a 2-minute stop. During that 2-minute stop, I had a chew, and I also gutted down some more Lucozade, and then I got cracking again. Now, I shouldn't have done that. I should have gone to the toilet. I felt like I needed a wee, but I wanted to get the next 2K or so block done and then treat myself at what was going to be about the 8K point, but it was hurting. It was all I could think about. So I did another 250, and then there was some lane traffic, and then I did another 100, and I was actually feeling quite bad at this point. I dropped down to 206 per 100. The fatigue was really settling in. I was at about, what does that take me to? About 7 kilometers. This was the point where I was thinking, oh, 7K is a long way. Oh, double iron distance is 7.8K or 7.6K. That's a good swim. I was like, no, I've got to battle these demons. So I thought, right, if I go to the toilet, I can also eat something on the way to the toilet, and I will feel like I can do this thing. So I got out, I went to the toilet, and whilst I went to the toilet, I had another OTE Chew. This is a bit like a treat, to be honest. It's like, I know it's fuel, but it's also like, feels like, well done, keep working. And I also knew that if I'd ate something, that would tell me that you're going to feel better and that you better do some more exercise because you just ate something. Strange, I know, but that's how it worked. 1 minute 46, pretty swift P-stop. And then swam another 850 meters, 30-second stop. This was a pure fatigue stop. My arms and shoulders are absolutely killing. What am I here now? 7 and a bit K. It was getting difficult. I then did another 900 meters, 209 per 100. This is really slowing down now. I got to the point where I breathed to the left every stroke. I'd started bilateral breathing just because I couldn't get my left arm up high enough to breathe on every stroke. So I started doing, 3 strokes and breathing, and that was helping. But I'm not used to breathing to the right, so whenever I was breathing to the right, I was just like zigzagging around the lane, and it was not good. So I then had a 3.5 minute stop when I had just under 2K left to go. So I was on 8.15, something like that. And this was really like, can I actually do this? I'd gone from about 6K feeling quite confident to now at 8 and a bit feeling like I've still got what is normally like a session left to go. So I had my last chew bar. and got cracking. I did 1,000 meters. I knew I needed to get over 9K before I stopped again, because then I knew I would finish it, whether it would take me another hour or so, and I don't know. So I battled through that. 2:13 per 100, it was dropping down even slower. And that, if I'm honest, it felt a lot worse than that. That in terms of time drop off, you're like, oh, it's only like 10, 15 seconds per 100 total drop off. I felt absolutely awful. I couldn't really keep track of the lengths in my mind. I kept checking my watch like almost every length, hoping that it would be loads more lengths on than it actually was. Of course it wasn't. But when I finished that one, I thought, right, 45 seconds to go. Oh, sorry, 45 seconds to a minute stop. I guzzled down some more Lucozade, and I thought, well, there's no point me eating anything else, so I'll just leave it there. But I've got 850 meters to go, and that was absolutely savage. There was nobody else in the lane by this point, which was handy because I was zigzagging all over the place. Swimming up and down, up and down. 2:15 per 100, the slowest that I've been swimming all day. But the elation that I was feeling as I got closer to the end was building, and to me, treating that 9K point as the finish line in my mind was a useful exercise, because I knew then I'd just do the next bit. And then as I got into the last 100, I'm like, oh my God, I've only got 100 to go, and it almost like didn't feel like I wanted it to end, but obviously I did want it to end because I could hardly move my arms. Got to the end of the pool, 10,000 meters on the watch. I was like, is this definitely 10,000 meters, or has it missed any lengths, or have I had any lengths on by moving my hand around or something? Either way, I wasn't going to swim anymore. I've looked back at it and it is correct. So I have swam 10,000 meters. I stopped, and you're like, normally a race or an event or something, there's people saying well done to you and stuff. And of course you look around and nobody cares. Nobody knows what you're doing. So I was like, well, I'll have a minute, had a few drinks, got out of the pool, went and had a shower, and then went to Subway, and that was about it. Now, what would I do differently if I was doing this again? I would definitely do it with a friend. I think so long as you pick the right person who's definitely going to do it, and the person I was going to do it with would have done it if we'd have done it together. I think that's really useful. Even if you swim in different paces, knowing that somebody else is there, the accountability is good. However, on that day, I used the fact that he didn't turn up to motivate me to finish it, because I knew he'd be on at me if I sacked it off. I was thinking about that David Goggins clip where he's running in the desert somewhere, and he says somebody pulled up not in the desert, but in a hot place, at a traffic light, and said, why are you out here running? It's like 100 degrees. And he says, because you ain't. And I was thinking, I'm doing this because you ain't. And that was playing in my mind a lot. So Sackby, if you're watching this, because you ain't. Other than that, I think I would genuinely do most things the same. I'd love to do it without a pool boy. I would love to think I'd drink a bit more, but I think the thing is I did enough to be able to do the session. I'd love to try and do it as 100 hundreds, but I just don't think it makes sense for me to try and do that. And I don't think I'd have been swimming any faster by the end anyway. And it might have even been a higher risk of me not finishing. So I think in a nutshell, that is about it for my story about doing a marathon swim. In terms of fatigue and recovery, the day after I had completely off. Then the day after that, I also had completely off. It really affected me. Going into day 3 afterwards, which is today in real life, I've been out for a little bike ride, just steady. It's really weird. The fatigue you don't feel it that much, but I feel drained and feel really fatigued. It took me 3.5 hours of swimming and 3 hours and 40 something in total time. So similar time to what I'd take to run a marathon, to be honest. And I think the effect on the body is similar. I'm hoping that I'm going to bounce back physically more, but that mental toll and that general fatigue was definitely a lot higher than I expected. So in a nutshell, that's what I did. I haven't added all the carbs and stuff. I'm sure you can do that if you want to, but I ate enough and yeah, got it done. So thanks very much.